Many women perceive MGTOW, men going their own way, as extremely sexist, often viewing it in a misguided manner rather than as a deliberately hostile movement. This perception can stem from a broader societal context, where discussions about gender often become polarized. Instead of seeing MGTOW as an outright attack on women, it's more about how the narratives presented by its proponents often appear biased, reflecting a perceived lack of male accountability for certain societal issues. Proponents of MGTOW argue that their stance is a response to a culture that they feel marginalizes men's needs and perspectives. They often frame their arguments around the idea of reclaiming agency in a world where they believe societal expectations place undue burdens on them. However, the facts that they express are emotional and may resonate with some while alienating others. This disparity raises concerns about the messages being sent, especially about the dynamic between men and women. Opponents argue that this indifference allows them to hide their frustrations and perpetuates disinformation. While some men in the MGTOW community seek to express their frustrations with societal norms, others tend to reinforce negative stereotypes about women and view them in views of suspicion and disbelief. This dichotomy complicates the discussion and makes it challenging to engage in meaningful discussions about gender dynamics. Furthermore, it's essential to consider how MGTOW reflects a broader reaction to modern relationships and the evolving roles of men and women. As traditional gender roles shift, many men feel uncertain about their place in society, leading to a retreat into ideologies that promise clarity and autonomy. This trend raises important questions about the ways in which both men and women can navigate contemporary gender dynamics in a manner that fosters understanding and cooperation, rather than division. In this context, the conversation surrounding MGTOW highlights the need for a more nuanced exploration of gender issues, where both perspectives can be acknowledged and understood. This requires looking beyond simplistic labels and considering the complex emotions and experiences that shape how individuals engage with one another in today's world. Disturbingly, sex with men can be violent, cynical, and irrational. Do supporters of MGTOW support gender segregation? This idea is quite tempting. While it's clear that men have a lot of power and financial resources, it's important to understand the complexities of gender power. The question of whether patriarchy is a valid concept in today's society is a simple one. We don't want to belittle anyone's feelings, but it's important to consider that if women don't kill themselves, it's vulnerable. MGTOW isn't really aggressive, but it can be seen as aggressive. As a woman seeking to understand this perspective, I see the frustration many men have over the control and manipulation of women, companies, and cultural institutions. It will create a crisis that can deprive people of their own freedom. Many men feel that they have to jump through the cracks set by the social expectations that women represent. The idea that women show attention, affection, or sex when men meet certain criteria, such as going to dinner parties or buying things, reinforces the transsexual view of sex. Many men in MGTOW have learned that anger at this process is futile. They see it as an unavoidable part of their experience. The internet is an umbrella for many men, providing knowledge and a community to share their experiences and frustrations. Some feminist writers argue that it's a male problem, and say that women should really avoid men. For many, it is a symbol of the fear of male dominance that can be seen in some women's events. Many members of the MGTOW community are straight men who don't want to be part of a movement that seems to pit women against men. Although some men are rough in bed, their needs are different. Proponents of MGTOW argue that people, both men and women, are often marginalized by social structures, which ultimately reduce productivity. Gender stereotypes affect everyone, but women are more vulnerable because of their social interactions. It is important to understand that while generals can understand concepts, they can also reinforce negative attitudes. Many men express a desire for a fair representation in society, but see systemic barriers that prevent this balance. When it comes to men's accountability and gender roles, some say that when men put women's needs above their own, the broader societal needs are at risk. There is a feeling that men today are often undervalued and do not feel that they are valued by women and friends. When it comes to gender roles, many argue that women, especially single parents, have a significant influence on the generation of male generations. This fact requires responsibility on both sides of the gender divide. When people are in high positions, their roles are often described as innovators in business and politics. If a person loses the ability to accumulate wealth and power, creativity and ambition will be stifled. The word patriarchy is often viewed with skepticism in the MGTOW community, seen as a way of undermining male authority rather than a demand for shared authority. Men bear the responsibility for maintaining infrastructure and societal functions, while many women prefer roles that allow them to influence decisions from a distance. Ultimately, women may not fully grasp the male experience until they face similar societal pressures and responsibilities independently. While there are certainly challenges that women encounter, the specific societal expectations placed on men can create a unique set of pressures that are often overlooked. Men typically don't rely on each other for free favors in the same way women might leverage their relationships. This can create a sense of isolation and self-reliance among men. In many cases, the expectation is that men should be self-sufficient and problem solvers, which can lead to feelings of frustration and disconnection when they do seek help. Women are often motivated to ask for help without conforming to the expectations of men, leading to the empowerment that some men can achieve. Disgust. This imbalance creates hatred and divides men. However, it is important to recognize that men and women experience the world differently, shaped by their social roles and expectations. By examining these difficulties, it becomes clear that it is important to gain a deeper understanding of the other's experience. This discussion of gender dynamics highlights the need for both men and women to engage with these issues with understanding and compassion. Understanding the emotional and psychological challenges that both sexes face can make conversations more productive and pave the way for healthy relationships. In addition, developing empathy requires listening actively to the experiences of others and recognizing that pain and suffering are not unique to one gender. By creating a space for open discussion, where men and women can express their feelings and perspectives without judgment, we can work to break down stereotypes and build bridges of understanding. Encouraging reflection in both communities. Men need to look at their roles and responsibilities in creating gender equality, and women need to consider the impact of social structures on men's experiences. Only by accepting this individual perspective can we hope to build a just and supportive society. Ultimately, as we continue to explore the complexities of gendered interactions, the goal is to foster a dialogue that is sensitive to each person's experience. Recognizing the common humanity behind the struggles of men and women creates more love and paves the way for progress that benefits all.